I've been saying for years now that this is a mistake, that there's no such thing as trans. There's no such thing as a trans woman. There's no such thing as a trans man. There's certainly no such thing as a trans child. And we need to refuse to use those concepts, refuse to use that language. And we've seen how the concepts have shifted over time. When I first became moderately active in this in sort of 2016, 2017, the term that was used was trans woman as a single word. So trans woman is a single word, that's a noun, right? That's a noun. So it's not a woman, because you're not saying woman, you're saying trans woman. But it's certainly not a man, because why would you need a separate word to refer to somebody if they can be a man? Well, they can't be a man. They're possibly not a woman, probably not a woman. So it's a trans woman. So we've created this concept, the trans woman, and now we have to work out, what do we do with this concept? What do we do with the people to whom we attach this concept? Where do they fit? What rights do they have? What spaces can they use? What pronouns do they get? You've created an area of uncertainty, at least, and we can see how this has developed. So trans woman as a single word is now verboten. We're not allowed to use that. It's got to be trans woman as two separate words. So now trans is the adjective, which applies to woman, the noun. So a trans woman is just another sort of woman. It's a way of describing a woman, just as, I'm a Jewish woman or a white woman or a middle-aged woman, or you have disabled women, you have black women, you have ethnic minority women, you have trans women. That's absolutely deliberate. And we need to see that this is part of a process. Sorry, just whacked the mic. This is part of a process. It's a deliberate process, and participating in this in any way is colluding, and it's helping to entrench and create the problem.
Is it possible then to move back to that old definition, or maybe the one word definition, and say, look, these trans women, it's a name we're giving to certain people who, not necessarily out of a paraphilia, not necessarily out of autism, maybe, or some other, I don't know, want to identify as though they were the opposite sex, but obviously can't go into prisons and changing rooms. This can't be a policy. This is just somebody who wants to live in that way. Maybe drag queens and things like that. That's a trans woman. Would that be acceptable to you?
Why do you need that word?
Well, it's quite complicated to start saying, oh, this is a person who likes to identify as a
woman.
Why
can't you just call them men? Why can't you just call them men and boys? Why do you need a separate word?
Well, we have words to describe everything.
But why do you need a word to describe that? Why has that got such significance, importance, that it needs to be reified by giving it a word, by attaching a concept to it, a specific concept? What purpose does it serve? But lots of things are striking. I mean, you could. There was a word. There was.
We should have words for them. It doesn't mean they're positive, is what I'm saying. I'm saying giving a word to something.
Okay, but what use does it give us? There was an example on Facebook many years ago, and I always regret that I can't remember the woman who put it forward. But she said, you can make up words for anything. You can make up a word which refers to huskies and apples. This word, whatever it is, it refers to the set of all objects that are either a husky or an apple. You've given it a definition. You've given it a meaning. But what purpose does it serve? Why would you ever need to use that word in everyday life? Why do you need to?
And there's 100 men in a room.
It's a man who's dressed as a woman.
But one of them is Grayson Perry, and he stood there with his dildo on in the children's charity, as you do.
As you do.
And you need to go, which one was he? You go, the trans woman one.
Why can't you just say, the bloke over there dressed in a dress with a dildo? Why can't you say that?
Well, we have language to simplify that.
But that doesn't simplify it. You're complicating it by deciding that there is a group of adult males who cannot be referred to as men. They need to be referred to as something else, that their subjective identity, that this is the thing we're being told all the time. It's not how you present. It's not how you pass. It's not what surgery you may or may not have had, right? It's none of that. It's not whether you actually put on any lippy in a skirt that day. It's your subjective identity. So why do you need to have a specific concept and a specific word to refer to something which is only definable by a subjective identity, which is as mutable as anything? It's untestable, it's unverifiable.
Well, fair enough. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think we can have. I think having a word for it is not admitting defeat. I think it's going, like a furry. These people who dress up as animals. I don't know why they do that, but I like that someone can say, oh yeah, that guy's a furry, and I know what they mean. So if they say that's a trans woman, it doesn't mean I'm saying I agree that there's such a thing as somebody who has a different sex or anything. I think it's just like, okay, that's a word for a collective group of people. I now understand immediately what that is, and that's what language is for.
But it has political import, though, doesn't it?
Well, that's
it has
when it's a
political
problem.
and legal import.
And it shouldn't do. We don't have bathrooms for furries. We don't have prisons for furries, and we shouldn't do for people who are not the. Well, this is the issue. But I hope that we have a mature enough society that can handle having words and understanding that the word doesn't mean that we actually say, okay, you now can go in a different prison, which is insane.
But I think we've seen the harm of it, though. We've seen the harm that this concept
of the trans.
Yeah, of the trans
woman. I agree with you.
Or using pronouns to be polite.
Yeah.
No.
Polite to whom?
Exactly. Polite to whom? Why?
Winds me
and
up.
Again, it undermines safeguarding, and this is where we've got away from the importance of safeguarding, and we have over-rotated into a concern with rights, with individual rights. And we need to bring it back to safeguarding. That's why we can't use the word trans woman, because it has safeguarding implications. That's why we can't use she, her to refer to somebody who's male, because of safeguarding. It's not about your Article 10 rights. It's not about the area of being offended and either your right to offend or your denial that somebody has an entitlement to being offended. We've redefined harm. And I think this has happened within the gender critical community as well. Harm has been redefined. It's now an over preoccupation with whether somebody is offended or not, rather than looking at the issues of real substantive harm. And that has taken the emphasis off safeguarding, and it's become a preoccupation with balancing rights, people's rights, who's entitled to what. I think everybody is scrapping now over the protected characteristics in the Equality Act, because that is now being used as a way to, if you like, structure society and to manage interactions. It's just, in my view, it's moved so far away now from its original intention, which was as a consolidating act for non-discrimination. And I think it's not enough to say it's a shield, not a sword, as Kemi Badenoch quite rightly said, without examining what it's a shield for.
My sponsor today is Private Internet Access VPN, a powerful tool that keeps your online activity private and secure no matter where you are in the world. Think of a VPN like a secret tunnel, only you have the map. It helps you hide your location and encrypts your data, protecting you from prying eyes. With private internet access, you're not just browsing, you're browsing with a cloak of invisibility. And here's something amazing. It now allows you to protect an unlimited number of devices with just one subscription. Now let's talk about why you need private internet access. Ever tried to watch a show on Netflix, but it's not available in your country? You can simply pick a server from a different location and voila, no more geo restrictions. It's like having a global remote control for the internet. For example, Oppenheimer can't be viewed on Netflix US or UK, but when switching to an Australian or Belgian server on PIA, you can access their version of Netflix and watch it. Private internet access is really easy to use. You can see here how easy it is to switch servers and access content from anywhere in the world. Not to mention protect you and your browsing from prying eyes. Ready to try private internet access? Click the link in the description below for a special discount exclusively for my viewers. Okay. I suppose a trans person. I suppose the issue might be that it shouldn't have the name woman in it. But
trans, what does trans mean?
Someone who likes to dress up as the opposite sex.
So why can't you say a person who likes to dress up as the opposite sex?
That's not how language works.
But why?
No, I get what you mean. But we've got to have the shorter things. It doesn't mean
why do you have to have a shorter thing for everything? Why can't you have a shorter thing for the collective of objects that are either huskies or apples? Because it serves no purpose. So trans, what does trans mean? Why do you need that word?
The word
why
for
do you need that
apples
adjective?
We don't usually make words that do that. That would be an unusual artificial way of adding a word to the language. But trans is a very specific case of this is a group of people who like to dress up as a certain way.
But it's not dressing up, is it? It's an internal identity.
Well, I disagree, but with them. But we have words for.
Well, you're transphobe, then you can't do that.
Well, by today's standards, I am a transphobe. I can't speak in events anymore because I believe in biological sex and science, and so be it. Screw them. We're very fortunate we have this alternative ways to get things out to people, and some lovely viewers and lovely guests who are brave enough to come on and speak about this madness. We have a word for Nazis. Why not just say these people who like to go around doing things to Jews or whatever? It doesn't mean that we like Nazis or they should be helped out and part of our society.
Yeah, but there is a utility and a purpose to having the word Nazi. My argument is that there is no utility, there is no purpose that is not destructive and actively against safeguarding by having the word trans.
Well, okay. And what is, by the way, we're going to get into, because you were safeguarding is something that I haven't had too many conversations about. It's always about the culture and what's going on in this, but safeguarding is so important, protecting children. This is what you do. Give me a bit of an idea of your backgrounds as a doctor.
Oh, well, I'm not a medical doctor.
Okay.
My PhD, it is in a medical subject. My PhD is in end-of-life medical ethics. Okay. So completely unrelated to prisons or the criminal justice system. My background is healthcare research. My first degree was in philosophy. So I think that's why I get quite exercised with the whole, conceptual utility and, use of language, philosophy of language and how language does and doesn't develop.